Hey everybody, welcome back to Disaster Communications. Today we're continuing the series on Meshtastic. This is the Heltec version 3 board. And also I'm going to get into a little bit of the programming and flashing the firmware. I feel like that's probably also very important. And even though I'm going to be doing the firmware on this Heltec, it will also relate to the other radios. But let's just jump into it. Now, I've already opened this up, so I'm just gonna. I tried to put it back together somewhat. This is the little Heltec board version 3, and has a pretty good set of eyes to kind of read stuff on there if you need to. But we're just gonna pull that out. In this kit, comes with a little bag. This little IPEX adapter was in there. That's for going onto the antenna here and using this particular antenna here. Again, we always recommend don't use these factory antennas. They're usually a piece of junks, so upgrade. If you need an SMA, that's this style antenna right here. Let me just pull that out of the bag so you can see that all the way. And get you a better view of it anyways. So this is an SMA antenna. That's what we call the SMA female. This is SMA male. Screws on. If you, for example, this is an SMA. This little better quality antenna. That's the one that's on the T-beam. And that's what I would do is I'd swap this out, put a little better antenna on there. So we'll set all this aside. And you have the power lead and some standoffs there. But we don't need any of that. So we're going to jump over here. And if you're going to put this Heltec version 3 in one of these little cases like I did with my other one here, you can't use that plastic antenna that came with it. Now, some of the sellers will already include this goofy looking antenna. It's just basically it's just a coil going up it. So this is the only one that really works with these little cases because you got to bend it. And if yours, like when I ordered mine didn't come with it came with this SMA antenna, which I kind of like IPEX to SMA. I'm going to use that for other boards, so I'm just going to set the case aside for now. And you can, some of the manufacturers sell it with this antenna, some sell it with that. Doesn't really matter. To put this on, you're just going to take this little connector and put it right here on top of that, and I'm just going to gently rock it back and forth and put a little pressure on it, and you'll feel it snap on. If it comes off real easy, then you know you didn't get it. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but I'm just going to lay it over it, apply some pressure, push down, and there it snapped in. I guess if you really just wanted to feel a little better about it, you could take a flathead screwdriver and just gently push down on it, kind of rocking it as you do, but you'll know when once it stays in place, then you're in there. So now I'm going to take the case. We're going to go ahead and just slide this down in there. This fits kind of funny. It goes in there. You have to make sure you get the USB-C connector through. And it just has a little lip there it sits on. So if it doesn't, just like there, if it doesn't go in there right, you got to get this left side in first, and then it'll just set down. Now these don't fit 100%, so what I do with my other one is I just take it in here, and I bend it a little bit right here at the base, and just take a little bit of persuasion on it. I'm just going to gently, I think it's already done in there all the way, so it is. And just put the top back on. And these are just little snap cases here. And again, you don't have to use these particular cases. The thing I like about Meshtastic compared to some of my more expensive ham radios is these are cheap enough you can experiment with, and that's kind of the design behind these. All right, so now we've got that loaded. I'm going to take a USB-C cable that's hooked into my laptop here, and we're going to flash the firmware. So I'm just going to plug that in the side. You'll see it start up with their logo. If it doesn't come up with Meshtastic on it, then we need to do this. So, all All right, so now we just come over here to the computer. I'm going to head to meshtastic.org, and this is their homepage. A lot of good information here. You can select learn more if you want to kind of browse and study some more. Here's different ways to connect with them. This is an open source project, so this is not like a manufacturer company. This is a community. So let's go to the get started page. And the first thing we want to do is identify the board you have. You have several different chipsets. So you have ESP32, you have an NRF52, you have an RP2040, and what you want to do is figure out which one yours is. Now ours, on the box here, it says LoRa 32, so that was kind of a giveaway a little bit for me, but you can sometimes identify it on the board by looking at the modems. But also here, they've broken it down by list. So if you have the T-Beam, if you have the LoRa, TGO LoRa, TTGO LoRa, Nano G1, Station G1, Heltec version 3, which is what we're using today. If you're using the T-Echo, which is the little brown unit that we did the last video on, you would use the NRF52. And then the RAC 4631s, that's the WISP blocks. That's what I use outside on our repeaters a lot of times. They use lower power and as far as battery draw, so they're better for outdoors. So anyways, the first thing we want to do is determine if which one we have. So we have the ESP32. You can scroll down here to the bottom, and before we flash the firmware, you need to find out if you need a driver for it. And the best way to do that is by opening Device Manager when you've started your computer and come over here to COM port and LPT. And because we have an error here, that tells me that I need the driver. So I'm going to come over here and install the ESP32 driver. If it was the other boards, I would install that one. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to install the driver, and I'm just going to select, let's just try this first link. There we go. And here's the downloads for this driver here. Software downloads, and you just pick the appropriate one. I'm running Windows on this one, so just going to go with that one. And, looks like it's already done. So I'm going to right click. This is a zip driver, a zip file, so I'm going to extract all. So this is it. All right, so I just restarted the computer, and now we need to get this COM port acknowledged. So I'm going to right click, update driver, browse my computer, and what you're going to do is just come to that downloads folder where you just selected that, and you're going to select that folder right there. And because it's got include subfolder selected, it's going to search all those, and I've already done it, so it's going to tell me mine's already done. So close. Good news is that's gone now. So the error code, it's now showing it, and I can run the scan here and just double check it. If there was an error, it would pop open like this and have a little yellow caution sign. So we're closed there. We can now close Device Manager. Let's go back in here to our browsers, and I'm just going to restore pages, and let's go full screen on it so you can see it. All right, so now we've installed the drivers, and now we're ready to run the firmware flasher. There's a couple options here. The web base requires Chrome or Edge browsers, and it's a lot easier, especially for us new people. There's a CLI, command line. If you want to do command line, it's really the manual base. So let's just go here. Connect and configure device. Well, first we need to come right up here to plug in your device, which we have. I've got the green light. Well, for lack of better terms, I've got the green light on the Device Manager. So we're now going to visit the meshtastic.org flasher site. So got three options here. We need to select our target device. There's a list of all of them here. Now, one word of caution: when I first got mine, uh, the person I bought it from on Amazon, it was said DIY type thing. So I made the mistake of clicking one of these DIYs, and it didn't work. Later, it dawned on me I was supposed to collect Heltec version 3, so I just want to clarify that. Now we're going to select the version. I want to do a stable. I usually do the alphas here, unless you just want to do a beta test. And then we're going to go to Flash. Number 1, ensure your device is plugged in. It says it may need to be rebooted and hold the user button while it's plugged in. So we're going to try it first without, just to see. Full erase, I'm good with the baud rate. It looks like there's 2 options. There's not much on these, so it won't take that long. Full erase and install, because I want to get rid of the other firmware that's on here. So Flash and erase and install. It's going to pop open a window here asking me which port I want to use. So I'm going to use COM3. Hit connect, and look at that. It's talking. This process could take a minute. After the flashing process is complete, you may need to press the reset button if the device does not reboot automatically. All right, so now we come back. It says flashing file system partition 100% complete. And looks like it just lets us close from here. And hit the reset button. And now we have Meshtastic.org on there. Very nice. So now that I've got that set up, I'm gonna come out of the flasher page, and I'm gonna come back to Meshtastic.org, and we're gonna click to connect and configure device, because right now the radio is not really doing us any good. So I have Python if I want to do command line. I can do web client or Android app. In this situation, since I'm still hooked up via the USB-C, I'm going to click web client. Now, this brings you to the kind of what I would call like the interface page. So first thing you do is set up a new connection. I'm going to hit new connection. I can do it over, like if I'm on a network, I could do it this way, Bluetooth, but I'm actually going to do serial. This is it right here, so I'm going to select that. You'll see in the background it opens stuff. I'm just going to hit the X and close that. So this is the top left, shows the radio name, current radio name, messages, maps, configuration, channels, peers, primary. So this is kind of the default settings. So let's go first thing over here to config. And we want to go to LoRa. And the very first thing we always do is set to the region. We have to set ours to US here. And when I hit save here on top right, you'll see the board reboot. And just so you know, most of the time when we do commands here, a lot of the different things that we do in the configurations, it's going to change it when you hit save there, and it'll usually reboot that. Now it's currently showing some of the different radios that it's hearing. So next thing I like to do is rename it. So I'll come up here, hit this little pencil. This is the long name, and I'm just going to say Heltec Number 2, since I've got 2 of these, if I had a user, I would actually set their name. I wouldn't. We usually use codes or something. I don't really put the names on there, but so I'm gonna put health 2 on this one. So I'm using a short name for now, the health 2. I'm gonna hit that, and you'll see it reboots it. Again, a lot of the changes we make here is gonna go and cause it to reboot. There's a couple things. Let's just go through. We're still under config page. So let's just start with device. Under device, you have your role. That's the role of this radio. Currently, this is client mode. If this is going to like an end user, I want it to be a client. If I'm client mode, let me tell you the difference between client and client mute. Client mode will take and relay each, how we talk about this being a mesh. And so this will then, if it's in client mode, if this one transmits a position, this one will relay it, then this one will relay it, and so on. If I'm in client mute mode, then anything this one hears, like if this one sends a position or a message, this one won't relay it. So the difference between client and client mute is whether yours is going to relay it. So for example, in my house, my stations that are in my house, since I have a nice outside antenna on the big one outside, all of my interior ones are on client mute mode. But now, let's say I'm going to be going out into the field and we're doing a lot of operations, and I've got my team, we're all out there in the field, we're doing, one's on one side of the mountain, one's on the other side. Maybe at that point in time, I don't think I would want to be client mute. I think I would want everybody meshing together. So it's okay to change these things. Again, like if you're in the Android or you're on the iOS, these are things you can change. Router is like an outside repeater. If you go to their settings page on their website, they kind of break down each one of these. On the router mode, mesh packets will prefer to be routed over this mode. This is the assumption that this router is in a higher location. It has the better antenna, better range. It'll have better coverage. Now, when it's in router mode, it's not going to use your client apps. So, for example, like your iOS and your Android apps won't be able to connect to it, won't be used by them. The Bluetooth and Wi-Fi radios and the screens will be put to sleep. So, due to preferred routing, this role may cause higher power usage due to more frequent transmission. Router client is very similar. It's a hybrid of it. The difference is that the router client can be used as both a router and an app connected. The Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and the screen will not be put to sleep. So this one definitely will use a lot more power. The next one is repeater mode. Mesh packets will prefer to be routed over this node. This role eliminates unnecessary overhead such as node info, device telemetry, so it kind of cuts down a lot of the random stuff that's being transmitted. Direct message in this node is not available. It also will not appear in your nodes list, which a lot of times will result in cleaner mesh network, and you don't have as many channels being shown. If you're a smaller group like mine is, where it's just me and my extended family, we're on it here. We're not really using this mode because it gives me something I could see on there and just double check the status and stuff like that. Tracker mode is for, if you're wanting to, like a car or something like that. For use for devices that has to have a GPS on it. Some of the radios have built-in GPSs. This particular one does not. So it's going to use my device, like the iOS or Android. It'll use its location to send out. Smart position broadcast will default to currently configured settings. Sensors for like temperature devices, telemetry, different things. TAC mode is for nodes dedicated for connection to an ATAC EUD. Turns many of the routine broadcasts to favor COT packet stream for the Meshtastic AppTap plugin. That's something we haven't really even talked a lot about, but ATAC is pretty cool. Used with it, especially for field operation. Client hidden is used for nodes that only speak when spoken to. Turns off all the routine broadcasts, but allows for ad hoc communication. It's still rebroadcast, but with local only rebroadcast mode. Known meshes only. So in other words, only the meshes that know it will be there. Can be used for clandestine operation or to dramatically reduce airtime power consumption. Then last is lost and found, and it's used to automatically send a text message to the mesh with the current position of the device on a frequent interval. So for this particular unit, that's a mouthful. Go to their website under the configurations and device. You'll see a list of all that. Serial output is for allowing you to hook your computer to it. So we're going to leave that turned on. Pretty much everything else I'm leaving set on that page. Position, enable smart position, and this one doesn't have a GPS. I'm going to leave it on, but there's not a GPS there. So let's just shut it off. If there is a GPS, you can do it. Intervals, and this is part of the beaconing of your position. Power, enable power saving mode if it was something you wanted to work on like that. And pretty much everything else here I'm just kind of leaving the same. Network. There's some options for being able to tether this to internet-based gateways where you can see other people around the country. Display. I pretty much leave all this set to, I mean, you can scroll through it and see, but I pretty much leave all that together. Under LoRa, do check here. I like to turn this boosted RX receive gain on. If you're having nobody seeing you, make sure transmit enables on. And we pretty much leave it on the long fast modem by default. Now there's some other modems and they will help you with different channels and stuff like that, but everybody in your group needs to stay on the same modem preset. There's a deep dive into this, so if you needed like long slow, that's going to extend the range, but if everybody else is on long fast, you're not going to hear what they're saying. So pretty much everybody in your group needs to be on the same preset, because this actually changes your channel numbers and the mode. So you want to be, pretty much everybody leaves it on long fast, but again, you can change it if you want to. And Bluetooth enabled so you can talk to it. If it's an outside unit and it's going to be one that you can't reach, like you're not going to climb a tower every time you want to configure it, you can change it to fixed pin and put in a standard pin number there. All right, so pretty much done there. And then we're down to channels now. So let's, on the channels page, you have several channels. It looks like a total of 8 that you can pick. The primary channel is the channel that sends out position and telemetry. That's the only channel that gets GPS location sent out. Maybe I want my position, whatever this channel here for primary, that's where my position's going. So if I want that to be primary and I don't want it to be the stock one, I'm going to come here and change the name of this. Let's call it family or group, whatever term you want to call it, MCOM, emergency communication, whatever. Let's just say it's family. And then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to get a key from some website that generates them, or I have a key pass to create a 32-bit 256. Then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, so I just sent that to the radio. Now, I should notice that this isn't going to start seeing all these other radios here now. So that's now my primary channel. That's the one that's going to send, that only people with this code and this name is going to see it. And I can share it. I can scan a QR. I can show this up, select just that one, or if I want to share all of my channels. So only people with this code and that encryption key, by either scanning this or copying this URL, will have access to your position and send you messages. Now, I come over here to channel 1. So now, let me just clarify that. So I'm on the I've changed my primary channel. It's still primary. It has a role of primary, and only one channel can be primary, just so you know. So I can't come here now and select primary. I can, but it's not going to work because only one primary allowed. So nothing else can be primary. So this will be a secondary. And I may have another, I'm just typing in randomly here, so I don't care if you see the QR. Let's call this MCOM. Oh, the uplink and downlink, that's if you're, remember we was talking about the clients, how they could be set to wireless there. If we connected one of these to Wi-Fi, you can tie it to MQTT server, and that's where a lot of people around the country are, it's like a nationwide open kind of community thing where everybody can see it. It's just think of it as a internet tunnel to allow other people to see the same thing. So if you have a node at your house that's connected to Wi-Fi and you want your position to be sent to that, you would turn this on here and downlink also to send messages and receive it. Most of the time I leave that off. I'm not even tried the MQTT, to be honest with you. So I'm just keeping everything local. So channel 1, it's the second. Channel 1 is now a secondary channel. It's encrypted. I got a unique key. I'm gonna hit submit. It's gonna submit that to the radio. But now let's say maybe I want to scan a QR, or I have somebody just emailed me their encryption key over an encrypted email. Definitely not through Messenger or nothing like that, you can take and copy that and paste it here, and that will auto populate your channels to match what they had. Or if I wanted to share my channels now, I'd say maybe I only want them to have the MCOM channel. I'm going to select just that and let them scan that, or I can copy this and paste it and share it that way. Maybe channel 2, maybe we have, I don't know, a neighbor channel. And we'll enable it. It can only be a secondary. And it's going to have a, encryption. Just, whatever. I'm just randomly typing in stuff. Submit that channel. Ready for changes. And then if I wanted to send that code to them, I'll hit the QR button here. And I would just deselect this one and select that one and just send them that code through a secure means. So anyways, that's how you do that. Once you submit that, then you can open these up on your iOS or Android. And that's pretty much the main. Now, while you're here on this, you can, if you want to run it with a computer, you can. Here's messages. I'm on the family channel, which is the private, MCOM, which is all private. Now, these are other peers that I've heard. And I can send messages to them. And so like if I want to send to the other Heltec board, just send the word test and hit enter. Now it's not going to hear it because the Heltec, this one and this one, are on different channels. So both of these devices, both the radios, have an MCOM channel. I can send a message here, hit test. You're going to see the device light up. And we have an alert here, so I can type it here. Now, the only thing is the third radio down here didn't see any of this communication, so I'm just showing you that. So now, in order for this particular device to see these, I need to share the QR code. So if I just send in some random junk. Also, let me show you on here, on this Android, it gets a little check mark once the other stations received it. If it's just the cloud, then it went out, but it didn't get the acknowledgement back. Likewise, let's talk about it here. Send a couple M's. Watch it real quick, waiting for it to be acknowledged. Acknowledged. That means that's the check mark for this one. You'll know when they get it because it says acknowledged. If it says anything else, then it wasn't. They haven't received it.